You called down the thunder, well now you got it. So run, you cur. Run! Tell all the other curs the law's coming! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Welcome to the Dynasty Defined podcast, a show discussing what's going on with the greatest dynasty in sports, the Oklahoma State Cowboys Wrestling program. I'm your host, Lee Cothran, joined, as always, by Daton Fix, fresh off of a Disney World trip. Daton, what's the good word in Stillwater?
There's a lot to be excited about. I just got back, so was in the room this morning, and the guys were just putting in work. So it was good to see. They're in there trying to get better. It's just an exciting time to be a Oklahoma State Cowboy fan.
Without a doubt. And I think that really boiled over in Stillwater on Sunday with the dual attendance being at 10,700 something for a Missouri, a duel against a down Missouri team. That's got to be the next highest attendance for a non-Iowa, Oklahoma, or Penn State duel in the history of Gallagher. So they set an average attendance record for the year. They were going to do that pretty much no matter what at this point. But next year, with OU and Iowa coming to town, more than likely, I guess there's always a chance that they could neutral site something. But you got to be anticipating setting a new record next year. So if they can get that average up over 9,000, 10,000, then they're really cooking with gas with Oklahoma State Wrestling. But I was able to go up to Stillwater for the duel this past weekend. And yeah, the excitement was all-time high that I've seen it. I've been following Cowboy Wrestling and going to duels since 2005, right? So it's a really fun time for Cowboy fans. And I was just telling you before we got on this, but used to be, if you saw somebody wearing Wrestling Pete gear or wrestling stuff in general, it was a familiar face. Somebody that you saw at the events, at nationals. You'd met them before, you talked to them before. Pretty small group of people that would sport the Wrestling Pete gear. But on Sunday, of course, on Sunday, it was everybody. And then on Saturday, even, there were a ton of folks wearing Wrestling Pete stuff. At homecoming back in October, I noticed a lot more Wrestling Pete stuff on people that I didn't recognize. So it's the excitement level all-time high from what I can gather. I don't know if you feel that living up there.
Yeah, I think that definitely the towns come together a little bit. The whole community's really supporting the wrestling team, which is obviously great to see. I think a lot of that obviously it all starts with the performance. We've been performing really well, and a lot of the credit should go to the production that they're putting on during the duels. I think that's just something different, something that is really unique about Oklahoma State Wrestling now. That every duel this year besides one was wrestled on a stage. They're all have these personal walkout songs, and they're just making it a big deal. Which Oklahoma State Wrestling is a big deal. So it's just good to see that it's the university's backed them like that.
Definitely, the production is really exciting. We all kind of get into the you don't really need all that stuff, and it's being an old, I guess, being over 30, like it's definitely a like, oh man, the music and the production, but normal people seem to love it. So it is fun that they've been doing that. And then Casino Night on Saturday had a great turnout. A lot of folks were there, and they're raising money for Pokes Wrestling to be able to go out and get more guys into the program. And we saw some fruit from that here on Sunday with the commitment of the number 3 recruit in the class of 2026. Drayshawn Ross is a heavyweight prospect out of Fort Dodge, Iowa. So you went up to Iowa and you pulled a guy that the Hawkeyes really wanted. And we all make excuses, right? Like, oh, he's got shoulder problems or whatever. But we all do that when they don't come to our school. But they really wanted him up there, and you pulled him out of their backyard to come down to Stillwater. And he is a legit heavyweight prospect. He's 6'5". Weighs he's a little light right now, around 220 or so, but you put some muscle on that frame, and you've got a guy with a lot of speed, a lot of power, and a really high skill level that is going to be a real problem. And heavyweight was the most important prospect you needed in the class of 2026, because after next year, Connor Doucette graduates out, and then you had a gap. It's exciting to see. You're probably still gonna have Doucette hanging around. You're gonna have White Hendrickson hanging around a couple of years, probably through the Olympics to help train Drayshawn there at heavyweight, and that's a massive, massive get to kind of break the ice in the class of 2026. And with Bo Bassett committing to Iowa yesterday, you're going to start to see a lot of those dominoes start to fall with guys like Jax Forrest. The Rainey twins, Michael Mako, probably not going to come to Oklahoma State anymore, unfortunately. But they're all probably starting to think, okay, well, the one big domino fell, so now we can all kind of get our process finished up and focus on freestyle season.
Yeah. Drayshawn, he's a great prospect. He was here on his visit. I talked to him a little bit. He just seems like a really good kid too, which is obviously good to hear. He reminds me a lot of, from a size perspective, a lot of Greg Kirkfleet. He was kind of a similar guy coming out of high school who people weren't really sure if he was going to be big enough to ever be a heavyweight, but obviously he grew into heavyweight pretty well, and I think that Drayshawn will do the same. I think that he's going to be plenty big enough, and he's going to have a great training environment here. He'll have Wyatt, and David will definitely grab him some. So he's going to be someone that's really exciting for us to watch the next 5-6 years.
For sure. Well, and another exciting thing is it sounds like he's quit football now. So he's a 3-star football prospect. So really talented athlete end of the day. So yeah, huge news for Cowboy Wrestling. And that's why these casino night, there's going to be more events that pop up here, because with just the landscape of college wrestling right now, you've got to have funding to go win these recruiting battles, and picking up big recruiting wins like that is a great thing to see. So we'll keep you up to date with all the events that Pokes Wrestling puts on, so that we can, again, just show up, support it, be there, and do what you can to continue this journey and go win national championships 35 to 50. Matt Brown came on the podcast a few months ago and said that's what he wanted to see. He wanted to see Oklahoma State get to 40, 50 national championships here before he gets put in the ground. So I think that we all feel that way. And, we hopefully have, 40 or so years to see it happen. But that's the goal, and I think that we all are kind of running towards that one. So fun to see that. The duel on Sunday, again, great atmosphere, lots of people there, rowdy crowd, and the Pokes gave you a good show too in winning 9 out of the 10 matchups. Tegan Jameson unfortunately wasn't able to go against Josh Edmonds. Sounds like he's dealing with some kind of illness. And they put Coulter Burton in there, who actually had one of the more exciting duels of the or matches of the duel. He put up a really good fight against an extremely talented Josh Edmonds. So really fun to see Burton start to. I know that he's wrestled in a couple of duels this year. I think he's used all of his dates as a true freshman. But exciting to see a guy who was a 106-pound prospect when he committed, doing pretty well at 141 pounds, somebody that we should expect to maybe see some production out of as his career progresses.
Yeah, coming out of Idaho, I think
Hmm.
you didn't really see a whole lot of him, so he was definitely a surprise whenever he got on campus. I've rolled around with him a couple of times, and he's someone that really just lets it fly kind of when he's out there, not afraid to go for it, which is always something. It's really something that you can't teach. You can't teach someone to have that just ability to go out and try to let it fly and score points in a number of ways. So he's someone that's really exciting. He's going to be exciting to watch down the road. In the match on Sunday, he was in a position to win the match against a top 15, top 10 type of guy. So that's great to see out of a true freshman.
Definitely. He got a little squirrely there going upper body in a couple of places, just didn't quite have the strength to finish it off against Edmund, who I think is a senior, and a really stout 141 pounder. So, but yeah, to your point, he didn't stop Burton from going for it and trying to make that work for him. It's where his strength is in that Greco background, working upper body. So kind of like Caleb Fish, a similar deal there. And hey, work in a couple of new techniques, and he could really be somebody to keep an eye on. So exciting stuff there. We'll just work from there. The duel started at 125 pounds, and Troy Spratley really handled his former training partner there out of the Oklahoma Regional Training Center. Gage Walker 10-1 major decision, and Walker just didn't seem to have an answer there for Troy. And I don't think Troy was going to be denied. And he was kind of putting some attitude on Walker in a couple of instances there, which is exciting to see the confidence that we got from Dean Hamity, Wyatt Hendrickson especially, seems to have trickled out into the rest of the team in some places.
Yeah, the way that Troy handled that type of match against someone who you were probably pretty good friends with growing up. They've wrestled a lot. The attitude that he took into that match, that's really the only kind of attitude that you can take into a match like that. You got to, let the guy know that, we might be friends. We might have grown up together, but, I'm winning this match and I'm not out here to take it easy on you. And it was just really good to see, because Gage, he's had a great year for a true freshman. He's been pretty much in every match, but he, really was never in the match on Sunday. So it was a really good win for Troy.
Definitely. And I know that Missouri wanted to redshirt Gage, Unfortunately, Noah Certain had to medically retire and he just kind of got thrust into it. But yeah, hey, he is now at Missouri and they are probably the biggest rival in conference. So, it's them and Iowa State. So, and of course, there's Oklahoma. They exist there, but we kind of we win Bedlam, right? Um, but that's the guy that's going to be there for the next few years, and Spratley and him are going to hit a lot more times in this period until Spratley graduates. So but good to see him go out and put a statement out there in the first matchup and not just kind of handle it around. Reese Whitcraft picked up a 6-3 win over Cade Moore. Uh, Kind of handled him in the first won the first period. He won this match in the first period, and Moore got a little funky in a couple of places and kept it close in the second and third period. But to your point, throughout the time that we've been talking, Reese Whitcraft really did what was important, won the first period, and then was able to hold on and win the match.
Yeah, he came out, got the first takedown, and then got another takedown in the second period, and then third period, just you obviously want to see him get out from bottom, but I think he wrestled a solid match. I think that the top positions, Moore's best position, so he was definitely working for a turn. He's pretty good with his legs in, so Reese was probably just didn't feel very comfortable with that guy on top of him because that is his best position. So it was just good. It was good to see Reese go out there and get his hand raised on senior night. Just because everything he's done for the program. Uh, he's stepped up a lot whenever we've needed him. So it was good to see him go out and win his last match in Gallagher.
Yeah, if you have an OSU Max subscription, which is something you should probably have, because if you're an OSU fan, because they put some great content out there, but you should definitely go watch the My Life piece they did about Reese Whitcraft. And he said, he just hopes you remember him as somebody that was fun to watch wrestle. And I don't think that there's any doubt that he's that, every bit of that, for Oklahoma State fans. And he sacrificed a lot to stick it out at OSU. Not a lot of guys would have done that in his position, being a top 25 overall recruit in his class and being kind of in a position where he's had to cut weight and pull a lot more than he probably wanted to. Just he's overcome a lot of adversity and he's had some injury issues as well. So really, really excited to see him pull out that win. Really appreciate everything he's done for OSU, to your point. So great stuff there from Reese. His story is not over for sure. He's got some tough matchups here this coming weekend and then the next duel. And he's going to be looking to finish his career on the podium for sure. Carter Young had a good matchup with Logan Geoffrey here. Geoffrey's tough, really tough wrestler. And Young, I thought this was one of the best matches he's wrestled all year. I know that there's some frustration with the way it ended. He kind of blew a major decision there at the end, but end of the day, he got it. He showed his varied attacks and he finished a few times in the first period against a guy who doesn't give up a lot of points. And that is got to be refreshing. I know it's refreshing for me having watched Carter Young so much for 4 years now, to see him go out and perform extremely well, I thought, in this matchup.
Yeah, he did a really good job of just eliminating the scrambles, which is what Carter, when he's not getting to his offense and not finishing, that's what's happening. He just kind of drops his head sometimes and allows the guy to just gives the guy an opening to scramble more often than he should. But he did a really good job of finishing quick, just solid, which was great to see. It's just good to see that they've identified the problem and they've worked on fixing it, which is obviously what they've been doing in the room. So good to see it translate to the actual matches.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about it a few weeks ago, but just goes back to simplifying. And it's like, okay, yeah, we know you've got a million ways to get to a leg, but let's get one way that we can, like you said, eliminate the scrambles, finish. How do we just get really good there? And so, yeah, it's nice to see him start to execute and build upon that. And now, build some confidence, right? You've got a tough matchup this coming weekend. You're going to have a tough matchup against Iowa, of course, and then going into Big 12s. Heck, 149 is kind of wide open. It's there. If you wrestle well in Tulsa, then you can walk out of there with a Big 12 title for sure. There's no clear favorite at 149 pounds. So Carter Young, if he's hitting his stride in the right place, then this is dangerous guy that we're talking about here. So
yep, definitely.
Caleb Fish picked up the 5-1 win over James Conway. Kind of a poking him with a stick there in the first couple periods with these two, but Fish came out on top, against another guy who he hasn't won a lot of close matches, but he keeps them close.
Yeah, Caleb did a good job just staying solid. Just wrestled like how we've come accustomed to seeing, just being solid. Didn't do a whole lot in the first period, which I like when we go get the first takedown. Just putting points up on in the board in the first period is just really important. That it's a 3-minute first period. And if it goes 0-0, you only have 4 minutes of the match left. So you wasted almost half the match if you don't do anything that first period. So it's just important to put some points on the board. And if you're not putting points on the board, you've got to at least be threatening the guy, getting the guy into some positions where you're giving yourself a chance to score. But he did a good job of doing what he needed to do to win the match, and getting his hand raised. And another senior who, we'd only get him for a year, but he's been fun to watch for the time that we've had him.
Well, and he got thrust into it too. He had to pull some weight to get down to 157. I don't know how close he was when he kind of got thrust into the action there. I know he'd been wrestling unattached at 157, so I guess he was prepared. But that is a big deal to come to graduate school, basically, transfer to Oklahoma State, and you're expecting to redshirt, and then next year it'll be your spot maybe, or you'll figure it out. 165 might have been the target. But you get thrust into action and you go out and you perform as well as he has. That's a big sacrifice for him, and definitely appreciate him doing that for Oklahoma State this year, because it could have been a big question mark who was going to be at 157 pounds if he wasn't able to do that with T. Travis getting hurt. So, love what he sacrificed there to make this work, and to be a guy who could be pushing for podium spot and scoring big points at NCAAs. So we need that. If you're going to get a team trophy this year, you need Caleb Fish to go out and at least go make it to the blood round, like he has. But I know he's going to be pushing for more, of course. Cam Amig, Cam Steed had a really tough match here. Cam Steed, really impressive on top. I did not see that coming. He hasn't really shown that, and especially against a guy like Cam Amig, who, how many times has he been ridden like that in his career? I can't go back and watch all of his matches at Michigan. I don't have that much insight, but I can't imagine that he's ever been ridden the way he was in the second period by Cam Steed. Put up a minute 24 of riding time.
Yeah, it's just a really just a tough match, hard match. You could tell that both guys really wanted to win that match, and they were willing to win it in a difficult way. Grinding. That's always the hard way to win a match. And they both did some riding to ultimately that's what won Cam the match. He decided to do. He's going to ride to erase that riding time, and then ended up winning the match. And that's a good win. Cam Steed, he's someone that's a little under the radar for maybe in the country, but he's someone that we know that is really good, and is definitely has the abilities to be an All-American. So it was good to see Cam Amin win that match. He's pretty accustomed to probably feels comfortable wrestling in those close matches, but to wrestle that many close matches and find a way to win, it's not easy. You can find yourself in those matches and lose, a lot of the time, but more often than not, he's winning those matches, which is when it comes down to the blood round and stuff like that, you're gonna have to win those matches.
It's also nice to see Amin be frustrated with this performance, and again, we know Cam Steed is up there with Amin and Barraclaw in the Big 12. It's a matter of okay, I should have performed better. And it's taking that ownership while still being nice enough to yourself that you don't let it get you down. And how does he carry that into the postseason to, I can get to offense. I can do the things that I know I need to do to score bonus points. I mean, he proved it last week against UNI. He got close against Iowa State as well. And how do I just put that all together? I think that's a question that he's asking himself right now, and I'm sure he'll do it, especially since he's got the resource to kind of figure that out. But yeah, I mean, this definitely 165 in the Big 12 is and it's been a great weight class for the past 5 or 6 years, really. And this tradition carries too. I mean, you've got Peyton Hall, Cam Amin, Terrell Bearclaw, Cam Steed, and then there's a couple other guys that could jump up, but well, heck, Riggins at Iowa State is one. But they're all 4 or 5 of those guys are really gonna have an interesting battle here in Tulsa. Peyton Hall's clearly the favorite, but man, whoever makes it to the semifinals, I think all 4 of them are going to be guys that we're talking about putting on the podium, right? And 1 and 2 in the weight class and at Penn State and Iowa are kind of a tier above, but Amin and them, it's going to be really interesting to see it all play out.
For sure.
Uh, Rubber hits the road here. Dean Hamity scores a tech fall over Joel Milan. Not really surprised there. Bummer that we didn't get to see O'Toole and Hamity, but we knew that was going to be the case. We'll see that in Tulsa, most likely Big 12 finals. That's pretty well a foregone conclusion at this point. So if you've got anything about Dean Hamity that we haven't already said, he's got a magic single leg takedown that he just works, and then his ability to ride and break his opponents. It's impressive. It's been an impressive run for him this year. I'm excited to see him wrestle those 2 guys that are ranked ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see him wrestle both those guys. And just like I said I think the first time I got on the podcast, Dean Hamity had the potential to be everybody's favorite wrestler to watch this year, and I think that outside of maybe Wyatt Hendrickson, he's definitely been one of the more exciting guys to watch on the team. He's just goes out there and puts points on the board, and that's all you can ask out of guys. So it's been fun watching him this year, and I'm gonna cherish the last couple times we get to see him the rest of the year.
Definitely. I mentioned it with Spratley, but and this is really where with guys like Spratley, Teague Travis, Dustin Plott, Carter Young, that quiet confidence that he exhibits, like the way he carries himself, because he's not a talker. I mean, he's like you in that regard. He's just not a rah-rah, not a celebratory big, like he just goes out, and the way he carries himself out there on the mat before the match, after the match, during is just, it's that walk tall, carry a big stick thing. Like he just is gonna beat you, and he knows it, and that's man, it really seems to be contagious, and you've got to kind of keep an eye on it, and you've got to have a keen kind of how's he feeling in just every single match this year. You can tell he feels good, he feels confident, he's not concerned about anybody or anything. Like he's just a great leader, and I hope he sticks around Stillwater for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure he wants to compete, internationally, and I don't know if there's going to be a much better place for him to be. So hopefully we see him stick around Stillwater.
Definitely. Well, I mean, shoot, him and D Lockett. I'm sure those are going to be some battles here in the next few years. That's going to be fun to keep an eye on. I appreciate him for sure. Dustin Plott. Look, I don't keep it a secret. These next 2, Dustin Plott, Luke Server, 2 of my just all-time favorite Cowboy wrestlers. And again, that goes back to a long time of keeping up with this thing. They just are tough Oklahoma boys that go out, and they've overcome a lot to perform at the level that they've performed. And you've been a teammate with them for a long time, and you know what the kind of people, the kind of men they are, and definitely appreciate everything that they've stuck through for Oklahoma State Wrestling, and Dustin Plott, of course, um, really competing at an extremely high level right now. He wrestled a blue chip prospect, Aiden Sinclair, who used his last available match to retain his red shirt here. Down at 184, he'd been wrestling at 197 for Missouri. More natural fit at 184 for sure. Heck, he went out and made the finals of that Soldier Salute, beat Isaiah Salazar, who was an All-American at 184 last year, pretty handily. And he did not have an answer for Dustin Plott in this one. Plott just took care of the things that Dustin Plott is really, really good at. He was able to get to his offense, was able to put on a ride, and lost a scramble in the third period, going for a tech, but just looked great through and through on this match.
Yeah, he wrestled a great match against a young kid who isn't really used to losing in that way. That's probably the worst that he's been beat in a long time. So Dustin wrestled great. He did a really good job of eliminating the scrambles, early in the match to build that lead up, and then just lost the last scramble, but he was looking to get the tech, which is good to see. And I like how he didn't end the match on bottom. He lost the scramble, but got right back up and was right back on the leg to try to get another takedown as time expired. So it was good to see him do that, and I just appreciate everything that Dustin's done for the program. He's definitely a lot of people's fan favorite. So he's done a great job, not just on the mat but off the mat too. He's a great wrestler, but he's an even greater person. And I think that's what you want out of the leaders on your team. That's what's most important.
Yeah. Well, I think he's a multiple-time academic All-American as well. I mean, he's a high character individual for sure, which has pretty much been true of Oklahoma State guys over the past several years, right? Yourself, many others, but it's not always the case. So it's nice to have a guy who is a great role model and who is somebody, I hope my son turns into a guy like Dustin Plott for sure. And same with Luke Server. He's always brought a pretty exciting brand of wrestling. Just another let it fly guy. When he was a heavyweight, he just went for it. And heck, against his now teammate, he's one of very few that kind of put Wyatt Hendrickson in trouble there in the Big 12 finals a few years back. And when he was a heavyweight and a significantly undersized and overmatched heavyweight as well, coming up from 174 pounds, really was where he was when he came to Stillwater as a true freshman. And he kept that style, kind of lost it a little bit last year with some injury issues that he had. The year before, he was fighting out some injuries as well. But this year, he really seems to have it all together. And he went out and got a 22-6 tech fall in under 5 minutes in this matchup. Just a really, really solid performance from him. He got his offense going. He worked his ride. He just dominated his opponent here, which he should have. Jesse Cassatt, I'm sure he's a solid wrestler, but not really on the same level as Luke Serber.
Yeah, he went out there and took care of business. Just how we've seen all year out of Luke. I think this is the best that Luke's wrestled, in his career for sure. He's definitely peaking at the right time, and he's really had a up and down career. He's had high highs and pretty low lows. At one point he beat the number one guy in the country, and he's been up and down weights. Just a lot of he's had injuries, so a lot has gone right and a lot has gone wrong throughout his career. But I think that everything right now is kind of falling into place, just at the right time for him. And I'm just really excited to see him wrestle in this postseason. happy that he's healthy and happy that we get to watch him a couple more weeks.
Definitely. And that's the same thing with Wyatt Hendrickson. He goes out and gets a pinfall in under a minute. And against a guy who was a multiple time state champion in Texas, which again, as I often joke, I was a bad wrestler in Texas, which makes me an extremely bad wrestler. So Wyatt kind of looked a little squirrely coming out there. It was like he wanted to pin him in under a minute, and he um, went to his back to turn him over. And I know that that is not necessarily the thing that they want him to do, but he exhibited his extreme strength, um, got the job done, and then did his salute to the crowd. Right, like the stand again. Is anybody having more fun in college wrestling than Wyatt Hendrickson? I do not think so. The guy, it came up because there's a lot of there's the Hodge discussion is ongoing, and Mitchell Messenbrink probably the favorite to win it right now. But if Wyatt Hendrickson goes off and pulls off the impossible when beats Gable Steveson and Kurt Vliet and wins a national title, then he becomes the favorite. Like, he's not in the discussion right now because nobody thinks he can do it, but I wouldn't count him out by any means. The way he's performing, the way he's wrestling is just it really seems that not having to think about waking up early, doing PT, making your bed, getting your classes done, all the stuff that you have to do as a cadet at the Air Force Academy has really freed him to um, be the best possible wrestler he can be.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's having fun out there, and I think that's really important. And he's really fun to watch as well. Some of the things he does aren't always conventional, but he's just a pinner, and that's really something that not a lot of guys are that efficient at. But he's definitely mastered the art of pinning people. So he's always in the match. He's going to be in those matches against those guys, and if the opportunity presents itself, he's definitely going to take them to their back and pin them. So they better be taking Wyatt Hendrickson seriously, because a man on a mission, and he's got the right people around him to get him to where he wants to be.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. So great performance from the Cowboys, top to bottom. Great senior day. Really appreciate everything that all those guys have done for Cowboy wrestling, including of course, including the guys who came in, took a chance here. Most of them, heck, were committed to Oklahoma State before David Taylor became the coach, right? So you got to be excited about the direction of things, and getting 10,000 plus people there and all that fun stuff is, man, that's exciting stuff. David Taylor put that goal out there early of, we want to get 10,000 people in the arena for everything, for every duel. And it only happened once this year, but wouldn't shock me to see it hold for next year and beyond. So great stuff for Cowboy wrestling incoming. Wanted to bring y'all up on the freestyle results here. I know that we kind of, let's see, is it on right now? Zahid Valencia. There's wrestling happening in Croatia. The Zagreb tournament's a ranking series tournament. RBY and Zahid Valencia both went and competed in it. RBY got the bronze medal. Zahid's wrestling in the finals. We kind of delayed.
Yeah, I think he won 8-0.
Okay.
So
8-0,
won
right?
gold.
Nice. Yep. So we're recording while it's happening. And I guess 6 minutes ago, he got the gold medal. So good stuff there from Zahid. That helps his position in USA position on qualifying 86 kilos. As David Taylor kind of clears out, it really becomes Zahid and Aaron Brooks as the guy. I guess Brooks might be going up to 92 though. So anyway, freestyle stuff, Cowboy RTC, good results there in Croatia for both of those Cowboys. Love to see them perform well, for sure. So pretty good little couple weeks there for you, RBY, Zahid?
Yeah, just it was for me personally, it was good to get back and compete again. I'm sure they felt the same way. It's it's really good to see the coaching staff and David you know take the RTC seriously and really put a priority on us. Because a lot of places they have an RTC, but it really isn't their first priority. And I feel like he makes us their priority too. We're in there every day. They're helping us just as much as they help the college guys. So it's good to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and it's not cheap to send folks out to Croatia and Bulgaria and everywhere else that you got to go to um, compete at this level and internationally. So that's significant resources, and definitely appreciate the folks behind Cowboy RTC on that. That's probably the biggest thing is that now the RTC is not uh, a debit item on or I'm sorry, a credit item on the program's budget. It's something that is getting funded on its own, which is great. It's something that's actually been needed for a while. Love to see that, and love to see them keeping you around. Dustin Plott, White Anderson, Dean Hamity, all these guys are going to compete at that level. So really, really good stuff. Moving on to the coming duel against Little Rock. The Pokes are heading over to Little Rock to take on the Trojans. There's been a time changes at 3 o'clock on Saturday on UFC Fight Pass. That's another subscription. I know I tried to put it out there a couple of months ago. They were doing a Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's special where you could subscribe for like $2. So if you didn't get on that, then you can always subscribe for one. You can subscribe for 1 month. It's a monthly deal. I think it's like $7. Hop on it though. This really helps out Little Rock for their TV deal. I mean, this is how they get their TV money is through UFC Fight Pass, and Fight Pass is doing some really interesting things with programs like Little Rock, Campbell, Wyoming, Missouri. Iowa State's embraced it in some ways. They do a couple of duels in high schools. That's just to get a little extra revenue. So we'll probably see more matches come up on Fight Pass as the years progress. But this is a big one. And it also helps support Little Rock, which is an Oklahoma State tree, right? I mean, Pat Smith is instrumental in that program getting started. Neil Iresman, of course, is Oklahoma State guy, Stillwater High School coach, somebody who's all around really good person, but also a Cowboy Wrestling alumni. So you definitely want to make sure to support that program. But unfortunately, they are wrestling Oklahoma State, so we got to support the Pokes in this one. But they've got 4 weights here that are actually going to be really tightly contested, and it wouldn't surprise me to see this duel be a lot more competitive than you probably thought it would be on paper when you were looking at the schedule early in the season.
Yeah, they've got 4 really tough guys, probably 3 or 4 guys that have a really realistic shot at making the podium. So that's really good to see out of a program like Little Rock, and it's just a testament to Neil and the other coaches there, because they're definitely not getting the same recruiting benefits as other places, and they're really doing a good job of developing the guys that they have. Obviously, they have one guy that was at Oklahoma State the last couple of years, and Jordan Williams. So it'll be good to see Jordan wrestle again. Obviously, we'll be cheering for Carter, but it's going to be definitely a tighter duel than a lot of people probably would think on paper. But it'll be fun to go down there and wrestle. It's going to be a good opportunity.
So I think Neil, one of his philosophies really is helping, and a lot of people say this, and sometimes it comes off as lip service, right? But Neil Iresman and his staff is very much into turning these young men into just great young men. And being good people comes first at Little Rock. And um, that has really driven some loyalty there because you got Nasir Bailey and Stephen Little on the podium last year. You had two All-Americans, which there are a lot of programs that are 100 years old that would kill to have two All-Americans in one year. And he made that happen and they stuck with it. There were a lot of programs calling them and saying, hey, if you hit the portal, we'll give you X amount of dollars, which is a reality in today's college wrestling, college sports period. And roundly, they said, nah, no thanks. I'm here. This is my home, and this is where I want to. This is my family. This is where I want to be. And when Jordan Williams kind of got his third strike at Oklahoma State this last summer, and a hard decision was made with Coach Taylor and them to ask him to find a new home, and quickly he ended up at Little Rock, and that's the thing, and it's probably good for Jordan to get into a new environment, and go there and be a part of what they are building, and a big part of that is if you're going to be a champion, you got to do the right things. But we're going to help you get there. We're not just going to rely on you to do it on your own. You're going to live by our code, but we're going to love you there, right? And that's a big deal for some of these guys, and I think that it's exhibited with results. And we'll talk. I mean, those are the weights that you're looking at. 133, Nasir Bailey, really, really talented wrestler out of Illinois who finished up in third last year. Was that where he ended up?
Fourth.
Fourth.
Yeah, fourth. Yep.
And he's looking to repeat that kind of success. He's a favorite of the way. He's taken a couple of losses, but a lot of it. He gets a little squirrely in some places, but makes Reese Whitcraft a real threat to him. Where Reese, if you get sloppy on him, then he'll pin you. Is kind of how it goes. So that's going to be a really, really interesting matchup.
Yeah, Nasir's someone that is really good. I got to wrestle him this summer, and he's really explosive on his feet. Definitely prefers to wrestle on his feet. He's lost a couple matches this year where it's been 1-0, and he's decided to try to end the match on his feet rather than go down and try to get out. So, I don't know if he just doesn't feel comfortable on bottom, or if he's just that confident in his ability on his feet, which it's probably the him being confident on his feet. But if he doesn't like being on bottom, then might be an opportunity to put a hard ride on him and test his ability to get out. For Reese. And it'll be a good match. Obviously Reese is fun to watch, like he said. So it'll be a good match.
149, you got Jordan Williams, Carter Young. At Lindenwood last year, Jordan won this one by major, 15-2, in the finals of that tournament, with Carter in red shirt coming off of his injury. So there's a little bit of, excuse making there. But these guys know each other extremely well. Carter is going to have to avoid tie-ups with Jordan, as Jordan will hit that duck under, and he is great at making you think he's in one place, and then you blink and he's in another, and that's going to be a challenge for Carter in this match for sure. But again, Carter, as he has kind of demonstrated last week, how does he get you into positions that you don't want to be in, and how does he win scrambles? And that's what he's going to work on here. It's another place that Jordan excels. So I think this is a really tough matchup for Carter Young, but he definitely has the tools to go out and win this one.
Yeah, I've known Carter and Jordan since they were little kids, so I've seen them wrestle a lot. They used to wrestle pretty much every week during the summers, that freestyle tournament. So I've seen them go back and forth pretty much their whole lives. So it'll be fun to see them, wrestle again. We know that Jordan has a really good duck under. He does it usually out of an overhook. So I don't think that Carter's going to be digging underhooks. That's not really his style. But just to be aware that he does have a really nice duck under. So and Carter knows they've wrestled enough, so you don't really have to tell him too much about the style that Jordan wrestles. He pretty much knows all there is to know. He probably wrestled more than anybody in the country. So
Yeah.
uh, it'll be a good opportunity for Carter to get a win against a really good opponent. Jordan's definitely a guy that could go be an All-American and probably place pretty high. So it'll be a good opportunity for Carter.
Yeah, definitely. Excited for that match for sure. 157, Matty Bianchi taking on Caleb Fish. Bianchi's been a guy that I've just kind of we've kind of expected him to come on at 157 pounds, and his career at Little Rock just hasn't quite got over that hump. But this year he's really been performing well, and um, this should be a pretty good match here between these two guys. I think that they both have um, similar styles and that they both like to work a little upper body. Um, Fish, obviously, more experienced and more successful in doing that in his career, but Bianchi's going to be a threat here.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say that they both definitely like working upper bodies, so um, has the potential to have some throws in it, which is always exciting. But they're both big, strong type of guys who like being tied up. So it'll be uh it'll be a good match for Caleb. And it's just exciting time of the year. This is the time of year where you want to start to build on your performances and just get some momentum going before the postseason.
Yeah, this is a big matchup for both of them. Bianchi's going to be looking to go win the Pac-12 to get a spot, I think. And this kind of a momentum in this one would be big for him as well. So yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting match between those two. And then you look ahead to 197. You've got returning All-American Stephen Little taking on Luke Serber. This is a big matchup for Luke Serber. I think this is his toughest opponent in a couple of months, really. The dual season, you got that return match on Andy Smith. Wyatt Volker, of course, really tough. He pulled out the win there. But this one is the first time he's wrestled an All-American. The first time he's wrestled an All-American since he beat Trey Munoz. Yeah. So, big proving point here for Luke Serber.
Yeah, probably the biggest test of the year for Luke. He had Trey Munoz pretty early in the year, but he was coming up from 184, so there was always that question mark if he was going to be big enough for 197. But Stephen Little, he was an All-American at 197 last year, so I would say that this is definitely the biggest test for Luke so far. And just like I said earlier, I think that this is the best Luke Serber we've seen in his entire career. So just another good opportunity for him to go out and just build on what he's been doing all year.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, this is the biggest test of Stephen Little's year since he lost to Josh Barr at the collegiate duels when they wrestled Penn State. So, yeah, I mean, and that was kind of Josh Barr's come on the scene moment there too. So, that's going to be an interesting matchup. They have opposing styles. Obviously, Serber has length, scramble ability, his riding ability, and it's been really where he's been winning matches. Little's powerful. Usually, advantage has been Serber in that type of matchup, but I don't think he's hit anybody as technically strong as Little so far this season. So, gonna be it's a tough match to have right before you go take on the number one guy in the weight class and Stephen Buchanan at Iowa. Stephen Buchanan problem has been there for Luke Serber for a couple of years now. He was at OU and just wasn't able to beat him. So really a good opportunity to get a big test in before you go into that match for Luke Server. So got to be excited about that.
Yeah, just two good opportunities for Luke. Win this match this weekend and then go take out the number one guy in Carver Hawkeye. I don't think there's a better scenario for yourself if you're going into the postseason. Take both those guys out and you're sitting in a pretty good spot heading into the postseason.
Yeah, definitely a great chance for him to go, shock folks like he did a couple of years ago against Rocky Elam's. Great stuff. Again, make sure to tune in to Fight Pass. Buy a month. Say is because you're watching Little Rock and they get some extra money kicked their way, which is a big deal for them. Every cent at Little Rock counts right now in this world of college wrestling. So, supposed to ask this as well. I was given some really good advice from Jason Bryant. Thanks to him for always being there for me. I've appreciated his guidance over the past 5 or 6 years. But he told me to ask people to share this podcast with one of your wrestling fan friends. So definitely want to make sure to ask y'all to do that. If you can take the extra step and like and comment and subscribe and all that fun stuff. It does help a lot. We're trying to increase our reach here. We've got about 400 people or so that listen to this thing every week, and if we can just as the fan base grows, as people get more excited about cowboy wrestling, how do I get to all 10,000 that were in Gallagher last weekend to listen to this thing? Then it's going to really help out folks wrestling, cowboy wrestling, because again, every cent that comes into Dynasty Defined, which is not many cents, I think it's been like $300 in 4 years. But all of that goes to Pokes Wrestling on top of the, my just annual giving over there. So definitely appreciate y'all doing all that stuff. It matters more than you know, and again, every cent counts in wrestling here moving forward. So. Daton, anything you want to leave us with here as we look ahead to Little Rock?
No, just any way you can support the program. It's definitely we appreciate it.
Amazing. Well, thanks for listening and go Pokes.